Hello, my amazing English learners. Welcome back to Catchy English, where we discover secrets that can completely transform your English journey. Today, I want to share something that may sound a little crazy at first. Are you ready? The biggest mistake English learners make is trying to speak from their very first lesson. I know, it sounds shocking. Everyone tells you, speak from day one. But the truth is, when you force yourself to speak too early, you actually hurt your chances of becoming fluent later. Let's do a quick test. Have you ever felt this? You can understand English, maybe you listen to videos or read, but when it's time to speak, nothing comes out? If yes, write the word silent in the comments. This little word will help other learners who feel the same frustration find this important message. Because today, I'm going to explain the science behind something called the silent period. This is a natural phase that your brain needs. Sadly, most English courses ignore it completely. But by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why your brain refuses to speak English at first, and how you can work with your brain instead of fighting against it. So, are you ready to discover why silence might actually be your most powerful tool for learning English? Let's dive in. Let me start with a fascinating story that confused researchers for many years. Back in the 1980s, American schools noticed something very strange. Immigrant children who arrived knowing zero English would sit silently in class for months. Teachers worried, parents were scared. Everyone thought, oh no, maybe these children have learning problems. But then, something amazing happened. After 5 to 6 months of almost complete silence, these children suddenly started speaking English. Not just single words. No. They began using full sentences, correct grammar, and even natural pronunciation. Meanwhile, children in traditional English classes, where they were forced to speak from the very first day, still struggled. Even years later, many of them had heavy accents and constant mistakes. This mystery caught the attention of Professor Stephen Krashen, one of the world's leading experts in language learning. His research changed everything we thought we knew about learning languages. It turned out that those silent children were not lazy, and they were not slow. Their brains were doing something incredibly smart. They were building a complete mental model of English before ever trying to speak. Think about this for a second. When you learned your native language as a baby, did anyone force you to speak on your first day of life? Of course not. For months, even years, you just listened. You absorbed sounds, you connected meanings, you understood situations. Your brain was busy, creating deep connections between sounds and meanings. That's why, when you finally spoke, it felt natural. The same process is true for English now. Here comes the science that explains everything. During the silent period, your brain does 3 very important jobs. And these jobs are almost impossible if you try to speak too early. First, your brain builds what scientists call a virtual language model. Imagine your brain as a super powerful computer. Before you can run a new program, you need to install it. During the silent period, your brain is downloading English grammar patterns, vocabulary, and sound systems. This process needs a lot of mental energy. And if you try to speak too early, you waste that energy and slow everything down. Second, your brain is creating connections between new English sounds and the knowledge you already have. You already know millions of ideas. You just need English words to express them. For example, you already know the idea of water. Your brain just needs to connect that idea to the sound water. This connection process needs quiet attention, not pressure to perform. Third, your brain develops something researchers call a feel for the language. Think about your native language. You don't constantly think about grammar rules when you speak, right? You just feel what sounds correct. That feeling didn't come from memorizing rules. It came from hearing your language again and again until your brain built an automatic sense of correctness. The same thing happens with English, but only if you give your brain enough time to observe, absorb, and understand without the stress of speaking. Professor Krashen discovered something powerful. Real language learning happens through something called comprehensible input. This simply means messages that you understand, even though they include some new words or patterns. Here's the magic. Your brain learns language when you understand the meaning, not when you memorize grammar rules. For example, If you watch a simple English video where you can follow the story, your brain is automatically noticing patterns, the word order, the sounds, the rhythm. You don't need to study them consciously. Your brain does the work for you. But there's a catch. Most people get this part wrong. If the input is too difficult, your brain gets overwhelmed, and learning stops. If it's too easy, your brain gets bored and also stops learning. The sweet spot is material that is just a little above your current level. You should understand about 70 to 80%. Enough to follow the meaning, but still with some challenge. Think of it like physical exercise. If the weights are too heavy, you hurt yourself. If they're too light, you don't grow stronger. But with the right weight, your muscles grow naturally. Your English brain works in exactly the same way. Now, let's go deeper and focus on how these expressions actually appear in everyday life. Many learners understand the literal meaning of phrasal verbs. But the real challenge is knowing when, why, and how native speakers use them naturally. That's exactly what we'll do here. Explore the context, tone, and hidden cultural meaning behind these phrases so that you don't just memorize them, but actually live them in your English. Take the phrase carry on. At first, it seems simple. It means to continue. But notice how English speakers often use it in moments of encouragement or in casual conversation. Imagine you're telling a story and your friend interrupts to ask for more details. They might say, "Oh, really? Carry on." They're not just asking you to continue, they're showing interest and engagement in what you're saying. Or think of a coach encouraging their team. "You've done well so far, now carry on." It has a motivational edge. By understanding these subtle uses, you'll notice that carry on doesn't just mean continue. It carries emotion, support, and energy. Now, let's compare it with get over. This one is tricky because it has more than one common use. Sometimes it means to recover emotionally, like from a breakup. It took her months to get over her ex. But it can also mean to overcome a challenge. He finally got over his fear of public speaking. There's even a third way, used in surprise. "I can't get over how beautiful that sunset is." When you hear native speakers, you'll notice they rarely use it in just the flat dictionary sense. It's alive, flexible, and layered. The key for you as a learner is to practice not just the phrase, but the emotions around it. Try saying it with different feelings, relief, amazement, determination, and you'll start to feel how the phrase changes. Let's move to set up. You probably know it means to arrange something like, "They set up a meeting." But in real English, it's everywhere. Think about technology. Can you set up the Wi-Fi? Or relationships. My friend set me up on a date. There's also a darker side, when someone is falsely accused. He was set up by his enemies. Same phrase, completely different feeling. What does this teach us? That phrasal verbs are like chameleons. They change color depending on the situation. And when you practice, you should always imagine multiple contexts, not just one. Now, consider hang out. This is one of the most relaxed, natural phrasal verbs you'll ever learn. Native speakers use it constantly to describe casual time together. "Do you want to hang out this weekend?" But it can also describe location. He hangs out at the coffee shop near campus. Notice the tone. Easy, informal, friendly. It's the opposite of something like attend or participate, which sound formal. If you want to sound more natural, using hang out instantly makes you feel like part of the conversation. Here's another that students love. Look into. It sounds simple, to investigate. But what's interesting is that in English, we often use it in polite, professional situations. Imagine your boss says, "I'll look into it." They're not promising to solve the problem immediately, but they're signaling responsibility. Or when you contact customer service, "We'll look into the issue and get back to you." It's softer than "we will fix it now," but it keeps the conversation open. Using look into makes you sound diplomatic and professional at the same time. Now, let's highlight put up with. This one reveals culture too. It means to tolerate something annoying. For example, "I can't put up with this noise anymore." But notice how English speakers often use it with a sigh or a feeling of frustration. It's not just about tolerance. It's about reaching your limit. In relationships, jobs, or daily life, put up with shows your emotional resistance. It's an honest human phrase. Practicing it will help you connect not just with the meaning, but with the feeling behind it. And what about fall apart? It's another beautiful, emotional phrasal verb. Literally, it means something breaks into pieces. The old book fell apart. But more often, it's about people. She fell apart after hearing the news. In these contexts, it's not about physical things, but emotional breakdowns. Learning this shows you how English compresses big feelings into just 2 short words. Do you notice a pattern? These phrasal verbs are not random. They are windows into how English speakers see the world. They show emotions, actions, and attitudes in a short, powerful way. If you train yourself to listen carefully, you'll not only improve your vocabulary, you'll begin to feel English the way native speakers do. Here's something practical you can try. Choose one phrasal verb. Let's say, get over. Write down 3 different situations: recovering from sickness, overcoming fear, being amazed at something. For each, create a short sentence or dialogue. Say it out loud with the right emotion in your voice. This way, you're not only memorizing, you're practicing life with English. That's the secret. Phrasal verbs are not just words, they're experiences. And the more you live them, the more natural your English will become. Let's keep going and explore more of these powerful phrasal verbs in action. Remember, the goal isn't just to understand them, it's to make them part of the way you think, speak, and react in English. When you hear them often enough and practice them in different situations, they'll stop feeling like vocabulary items and start feeling like tools you can reach for naturally. Take show up. At first, it seems simple. It means to arrive somewhere. But in real conversation, it has layers of meaning. Imagine you're planning a party and a friend says, "Don't worry, I'll show up." They're promising they'll come. But if someone says, "He didn't show up," it carries disappointment or even frustration, like they didn't keep their word. And then there's another use. She really showed up in the meeting today. In this case, it doesn't just mean she arrived. It means she performed. She impressed people. She proved herself. One phrase, 3 different feelings. That's the beauty of phrasal verbs. They're compact, yet powerful. Now, let's talk about cut down on. This one appears all the time in conversations about habits, health, or lifestyle. Someone might say, "I'm trying to cut down on sugar," or "He cut down on smoking last year." It's not about completely stopping, it's about reducing. And here's where it gets interesting. In English, this phrase is often linked with self-improvement or discipline. People use it when they want to sound motivated but realistic. Instead of saying, "I'll quit coffee forever," they say, "I'll cut down on coffee." It feels softer, more achievable, and more natural. Try using it in your own life. Pick a habit and say, "I'm cutting down on." It makes your English sound authentic because that's exactly how native speakers talk about goals. Another important phrase is carry out. This one feels more formal, but it's still very common. It means to perform or complete a task. For example, the scientists carried out an experiment, or the company carried out a survey. But listen to how it's used. It usually shows responsibility, planning, and effort. People don't just say, "do an experiment." They say, "carry out an experiment," because it sounds more precise and professional. If you're working in business, academics, or even daily life, carry out will make your English sound polished. Now, let's look at bring back. On the surface, it means to return something. Can you bring back the book you borrowed? But much more often, it's emotional. Think of a song you hear from childhood. You might say, "That song brings back so many memories." It's not physical. It's about feelings, nostalgia, and connection. Native speakers love using this phrase to talk about the past because it feels warm and personal. You can practice by thinking of smells, songs, or photos that bring back memories for you. This way, you train your English to connect with your emotions. Next, let's explore run into. This one means to meet someone by chance. Imagine walking in the mall and suddenly seeing an old friend. You'd say, I ran into Sarah yesterday. Notice the feeling here. It's unexpected, casual, and usually positive. There's also another meaning. Encountering problems. We ran into some technical issues. Same phrase, but now it's about obstacles. Native speakers love phrases like this because they're flexible. You can talk about people, situations, or challenges with just 2 words. Now think about break down. At first, it might sound mechanical. My car broke down. But just like many phrasal verbs, it has emotional layers too. You can say, he broke down in tears. That means he couldn't control his emotions anymore. It's powerful because it communicates vulnerability and human feelings. There's also a third meaning, analyzing something step by step. For example, let's break down this problem into smaller parts. This shows how phrasal verbs adapt to context. When you master them, you don't just know the dictionary meaning, you know the mood, the tone, and the story behind them. Let's also look at call back. This one is straightforward. I'll call you back later. But what's interesting is the cultural aspect. In English-speaking countries, especially in business, not calling someone back can seem rude or careless. Saying, I'll call you back is more than a phrase. It's a promise, a small social contract. And when you keep it, it shows respect and reliability. That's why practicing even simple phrases like this can make your communication feel more natural and respectful. Finally, let's revisit look up to. This one is essential for expressing admiration. For example, I've always looked up to my teacher. It's more than just respect. It's about inspiration, guidance, and role models. When you use this phrase, you're not just talking about someone. You're sharing your values, your heroes, your story. It's a very human phrase, and using it makes your English more personal. If you notice, all of these phrasal verbs show up, cut down on, carry out, bring back, run into, break down, call back, look up to, are not random. They're reflections of life itself. They capture how people meet, how they struggle, how they remember, and how they admire. That's why mastering them doesn't just improve your vocabulary. It helps you understand people. Here's a quick exercise you can do. Pick 3 of these phrases and imagine a conversation with a friend. For example, you might say, I ran into my old coach yesterday. He really inspired me back then, and I still look up to him. Talking to him brought back so many memories. See what happened? You combined 3 phrasal verbs into one natural story. That's how you start thinking in English, not as separate words, but as flowing, living language. The more you practice, the more you'll notice these phrases popping up everywhere, in movies, songs, podcasts, and conversations. When they appear, don't just translate them. Stop and feel them. Ask yourself, is it emotional, casual, formal, or professional? That awareness is what makes your English not just correct, but alive. Now, let's continue exploring more phrasal verbs. But this time, I want you to notice how they connect with real human experiences. Because phrasal verbs are not just grammar, they are snapshots of how people live, how they feel, and how they solve problems. When you really tune into them, it's like you're stepping into the rhythm of everyday English. Let's start with get over. At first, you might hear it in a simple way. He got over the flu. That means he recovered from an illness. But in conversation, it's used even more often for emotions or challenges. Someone might say, she's still getting over the breakup, or I can't get over how beautiful that view was. It's not just about recovery. It's about moving past something, emotionally or mentally. It can mean healing, adapting, or even being surprised. Think about that last example. I can't get over it. It doesn't mean you're sick. It means you're amazed, and the feeling won't leave you. It's fascinating how one phrase can stretch across so many situations. Next, let's talk about look into. This one is common in professional and everyday contexts. It means to investigate, to research, or to explore a problem. For example, we'll look into the issue and get back to you. Or, she's looking into different universities abroad. It has a tone of curiosity and responsibility. Instead of saying, I'll check, English speakers often say, I'll look into it, because it feels more thoughtful and serious. If you want your English to sound professional but still natural, this phrase is perfect. Then we have come across. Imagine scrolling through a website and finding an interesting article. You'd say, I came across this article about healthy habits. Or maybe you're cleaning your room and suddenly discover an old photo. You might say, I came across my childhood pictures. This phrase is so common because life is full of small surprises, and come across is the exact way to describe them. It's casual, but it carries the magic of discovery. And if you listen to native speakers, you'll notice they use it often to share stories. Another useful phrase is put up with. This one expresses tolerance or patience. It's when something annoys you, but you accept it. For example, I can't put up with the noise anymore, or she puts up with her brother's jokes. It's interesting because it's emotional. It communicates frustration and endurance at the same time. And when you use it, people understand not just the situation, but also how you feel about it. Try to think about what you put up with in your daily life. Maybe traffic, maybe late buses, maybe noisy neighbors. Saying it out loud in English makes it feel real. Now, let's revisit fall apart. This phrase is powerful because it can be literal or emotional. Literally, you can say, the old book fell apart in my hands. But much more often, it's used for feelings or situations. After the accident, he completely fell apart. Or, the plan fell apart at the last minute. It shows fragility, vulnerability, and the way life sometimes doesn't go as planned. It's one of those phrases that carry weight, and when you use it in the right moment, it adds emotional depth to your story. Another one is hang out. This is one of the friendliest phrases in English. It means to spend time together in a casual way. For example, do you want to hang out this weekend? Or, we used to hang out after school. What makes it special is the feeling. It's relaxed, informal, and warm. It doesn't mean doing something big. It just means being together, enjoying time. If you want to connect with people in English, hang out is a phrase you'll use again and again. Let's look at work out. At first, it's about exercise. I work out 3 times a week. But there's another very common meaning. It means to resolve or succeed. For example, don't worry, everything will work out. Or, they worked out their differences. This version is full of hope and problem solving. It's one of those phrases people use to reassure each other, to spread optimism. Pay attention to it in movies or TV. You'll hear characters say it when they're encouraging someone. Another phrasal verb to focus on is turn up. The simplest meaning is to arrive. She turned up late. But there's also the sense of something appearing or happening unexpectedly. Opportunities will turn up if you stay patient. And finally, in casual conversation, it can mean increasing the volume. Turn up the music. It's a very flexible phrase, and the tone depends entirely on the situation. That's why it's so widely used, because it's practical in both casual and deeper contexts. And then we have set up. This one is incredibly common in both work and daily life. It means to arrange or organize. For example, they set up a new company, or I'll set up a meeting. But it can also be physical. He set up the tent. And sometimes it even means to trap someone. He was set up. One phrase, many lives. If you want your English to sound professional, confident, and versatile, mastering setup is a must. Finally, let's circle back to give in. This phrase often describes surrender, letting go of resistance. For example, after hours of arguing, he finally gave in. Or, I didn't want dessert, but I gave in and had some cake. It can be serious, like giving in during negotiations, or playful, like giving in to temptation. What's important is the emotion. It shows a change of will, a moment of acceptance. And that's why it's so human. Do you notice the pattern here? Every phrasal verb isn't just a phrase. It's an emotion, a story, a window into how people express life in English. And when you use them, you're not just learning vocabulary, you're stepping into those stories. That's why this journey is so powerful. Now, let's dive even deeper. By this point, you've probably started to notice something. Phrasal verbs are not just random combinations of words. They follow patterns. And when you hear them again and again in real situations, they start to click naturally. That's why in this part, I want to take you through more phrasal verbs, but not just as definitions. We'll explore them with little stories, practical situations, and connections that make them stick in your memory. Let's start with run into. This is a phrase you'll hear a lot in casual conversations. It means to meet someone unexpectedly. For example, I ran into my old teacher at the supermarket yesterday. It's those moments in life that surprise you, when you meet someone you weren't planning to see. But run into can also mean facing a problem. We ran into some difficulties during the project. So it covers both people and challenges, and when you think about it, both meanings make sense. You didn't plan for either of them, but they happened. That's what makes the phrase so vivid and useful. Now, break down. Literally, it means when a machine stops working. My car broke down on the way to work. But emotionally, it can mean losing control. She broke down in tears after hearing the news. This is why phrasal verbs are powerful. They capture not just actions, but also feelings. A broken car and a broken heart may be different, but the phrase break down ties them together through the idea of collapse. Then there's call back. Simple but extremely common. It literally means returning a phone call. I'll call you back after the meeting. In professional life, this is a must-know phrase because it's polite and direct. But it can also have a deeper sense, returning to someone or something. For example, memories of my childhood keep calling me back. In everyday conversation, though, you'll use it mostly with phones. And notice how natural it sounds. Instead of saying, I will return your call, which feels formal and stiff, people almost always say, I'll call you back. Now let's revisit carry out. This one is often used in formal and professional settings. It means to perform or complete a task. The scientists carried out an important experiment, or the team carried out the plan successfully. What's interesting is that it emphasizes action, not just intention. To carry out something is to make it real, to put it into practice. That's why it's used in work, science, and even daily life. She carried out her promise. Think of it as the bridge between planning and doing. Another powerful phrase is cut down on. This is about reduction, especially when you're trying to improve your lifestyle. For example, I'm trying to cut down on sugar, or he cut down on watching TV to focus on studying. It's not about stopping completely, it's about reducing little by little. And because so many conversations in English are about habits, health, or productivity, you'll find cut down on comes up often. It's polite, practical, and realistic. People don't always stop something instantly, but they can cut down on it. Now, let's talk about bring back. This phrase has an emotional side to it. It means to return something, either physically or through memory. For example, this song brings back so many memories. Or, she brought back a gift from her trip. Notice the difference. Sometimes it's about an object, but more often it's about feelings. That's why it's such a beloved phrase in English. It connects the present with the past. When you hear someone say, that smell brings back my childhood, you immediately feel the nostalgia. Another one to explore is show up. At first glance, it seems simple. It means to appear or arrive. He showed up late to the meeting. But there's more. Sometimes it carries judgment, as if someone was expected but didn't fulfill it properly. She didn't show up when we needed her. And in a positive sense, it can mean stepping forward, taking responsibility. He really showed up for his team. So even though it's a short phrase, It communicates a lot about responsibility, reliability, and presence. Now, look up to. This one is about admiration. It means to respect or admire someone. I've always looked up to my grandmother. Or, many young athletes look up to professional players. What's beautiful about this phrase is its metaphor. You literally look up to someone because they are higher in your eyes, in terms of qualities or achievements. And when you use it, it shows not just your vocabulary, but your values. Let's bring in carry on. This one is all about continuing despite challenges. Even after the mistake, they carried on with the presentation. Or, life must carry on. It's more emotional than just saying continue. It implies strength, endurance, and resilience. That's why in many motivational contexts, you'll hear this phrase. It's short, powerful, and encouraging. And finally, let's revisit take off. Literally, it's about flight. The plane took off. But in conversation, it can mean success. His career really took off after that project. Or leaving quickly, he took off without saying goodbye. What's fun is how flexible this one is. You'll hear it in airports, business talks, and casual chats with friends. And each time, it paints a different but exciting picture. Now, imagine weaving these phrases into your daily practice. Instead of memorizing, you connect them with life. The friend you ran into yesterday, the car that broke down last week, the old song that brought back memories, the leader you look up to, the project you carried out, the bad habit you want to cut down on. Suddenly, they're not just English phrases, they're your stories. And when they become your stories, they stick. Let's keep going and take these phrases even further, because understanding them is just the first step. The real magic happens when you start to imagine them in action, in everyday conversations. Think of this as rehearsal for real life. The more you can hear and practice these phrases in context, the more natural they will feel when it's your turn to use them. Let's begin with get over. This phrase is incredibly common, and it carries a powerful emotional meaning. On the surface, it means to recover from something. For example, it took me weeks to get over the flu. That's the physical sense. But more often, it's emotional. She still hasn't gotten over the breakup. Or, he can't get over how beautiful the view is. Notice how versatile it is. You can get over sickness, heartbreak, shock, or surprise. And here's the important thing. When native speakers use get over, they're not thinking of a dictionary definition. They're expressing recovery, moving past something, whether it's pain or astonishment. Now, look into. This one is practical and professional. It means to investigate or explore. For example, the company will look into the complaint. Or, I'll look into the problem and get back to you. It's polite, formal enough for business, but also flexible for daily life. You might say, I need to look into new ways of learning English. It communicates curiosity and responsibility. It's softer than investigate, but carries the same seriousness. Next, let's take come across. This is one of my favorites because it feels like a little discovery each time. It means to find something unexpectedly. I came across an old photo in my drawer. Or, I came across an interesting article online. But it can also describe how someone appears to others. He comes across as confident, but he's actually shy. Two very different uses, but both share the idea of encounter. Either you encounter something in the world, or you encounter an impression of a person. That makes it incredibly versatile in conversation. Now, let's explore put up with. This phrase is about tolerance, about enduring something unpleasant without complaining too much. I can't put up with this noise anymore, or she puts up with a lot of stress at work. It's strong because it communicates patience and frustration at the same time. In real conversations, people often use it when talking about challenges, neighbors, traffic, bad habits of friends. It's one of those phrases that instantly makes you sound natural because it reflects real life. Then there's fall apart. This phrase paints such a vivid picture. Literally, it means to break into pieces. The old book fell apart in my hands. But emotionally, it's powerful. She fell apart after losing her job. Or socially, the plan fell apart when no one showed up. What makes it beautiful is the imagery. You can almost see something breaking down completely. And because life often has moments of collapse, this phrase shows up frequently in stories, movies, and conversations. Now, let's revisit hang out. This one is friendly, casual, and absolutely essential. It means spending relaxed time with friends or family. We're going to hang out at the park. Or, do you want to hang out this weekend? It's not formal. It's not about tasks. It's simply about enjoying time together. And because English is full of social conversation, this phrase is one you'll use often. It's the difference between sounding like a textbook and sounding like a real person. Another one that ties into social life is turn up. On the surface, it means to appear or arrive. He turned up late again. But it also has a meaning about intensity. Turn up the volume. Or even excitement. The party really turned up after midnight. This shows how English phrases shift meaning depending on context. But once you see the connections, it becomes natural. Arriving, increasing, getting lively, all captured in two little words. Now let's talk about work out. This one is extremely popular because it's used in both physical and mental contexts. Literally, it means exercise. I work out 3 times a week. But it can also mean solving or understanding. We need to work out a solution, or things will work out in the end. It's encouraging, flexible, and common in motivational contexts. Whenever you want to talk about problems, solutions, or even hope, work out is there. Another interesting one is give in. This phrase is about surrender, about stopping resistance. For example, after hours of arguing, he finally gave in. Or she didn't want dessert. But she gave in and had some cake. It's gentle, not dramatic, but it communicates that moment when resistance ends. And because life is full of negotiations, temptations, and decisions, this phrase is part of everyday English. Finally, let's explore set up. This phrase is practical and powerful. It means to arrange or prepare something. They set up a meeting for tomorrow. Or he set up a new business. It can also mean creating situations. She set me up on a blind date. It's everywhere, in technology, business, social life. Anytime something is organized or established, set up fits perfectly. So now, think about all these phrases together. Get over, look into, come across, put up with, fall apart, hang out, turn up, work out, give in, set up. They may seem like a long list, but when you imagine them in your own life, they become personal. Imagine the last time you had to put up with something annoying, or the last time things fell apart, or when you gave in to temptation, or the times you hung out with friends, worked out problems, or set up something important. By attaching these phrases to your own stories, you make them unforgettable. Let's take these phrasal verbs and bring them to life with stories and dialogues. This is where they start to sound natural, the way native speakers actually use them in daily life. Imagine you're listening in on real conversations, where these phrases just flow. As you hear them, try to repeat them out loud. Story 1, the broken car. Anna, I can't believe my car broke down on the way to work. Jake, oh no, that must have been stressful. Anna, yeah, everything just fell apart this morning. First, the alarm didn't go off, then the car stopped. Jake, did you call back the mechanic? Anna, yes, but he said he'd look into the problem later today. Jake, well, don't worry. Things usually work out in the end. Anna, I hope so. I just have to put up with public transport until it's fixed. Notice how many phrasal verbs fit naturally into a single conversation. You don't need to force them, they're just part of everyday problem solving. Story 2, the party. Mia, hey, are you coming to John's party tonight? Leo, I don't know, I wasn't invited. Mia, really? I'm sure if you just show up, nobody will mind. Leo. Maybe. I actually came across some old photos of John and me yesterday. We used to hang out all the time. Mia. Exactly. This is the perfect chance to reconnect. Leo. Okay, fine, you convinced me. I'll turn up later. Here you can hear show up, come across, hang out, and turn up, all in a casual, friendly dialogue. They give the conversation warmth and realism. Story 3. The business idea. Sophie. So, I heard you're starting something new? Mark. Yes, I'm planning to set up a small online store. Sophie. That sounds exciting. What kind of products? Mark. Handmade jewelry. I came across some beautiful designs while traveling, and it inspired me. Sophie. Nice, but starting a business isn't easy. Are you ready if things fall apart? Mark. Of course. Even if problems come, I'll work them out. Sophie. Good attitude. I really look up to people who follow their dreams. This dialogue mixes ambition, challenges, and encouragement. Exactly where these phrases naturally appear. Mini practice sentences. Repeat after me. I need to get over my fear of speaking English. The teacher will look into your question. Yesterday, I came across a new cafe in town. I can't put up with this hot weather anymore. Their relationship completely fell apart. Let's hang out this weekend. He didn't turn up for the meeting? Don't worry, it will work out. She finally gave in and bought the dress. They plan to set up a charity event. When you repeat them, try to imagine your own life situations. That's how your brain locks them in. Practice role play. Now let's do a little role play exercise. Pretend you're one of the characters. I'll leave a pause so you can answer. Me. Hey, do you want to hang out later? Pause for you to respond. Me. Oh, sorry, I forgot to call back yesterday. Did you get over your cold yet? Pause for you to respond. Me. Good, I thought maybe we could set up a study group. Pause for you to respond. See, when you actually speak them, they stop being phrases you study and become phrases you live. Now, let's bring everything together into one longer story. This will feel more like listening to a short drama or podcast episode, where phrasal verbs naturally appear again and again. As you listen, don't just sit back. Repeat some sentences out loud. Imagine yourself as one of the characters, and try to feel how these phrases sound in real conversations. The big reunion. It was a Saturday morning, and Emma was rushing around her apartment. Her best friends from university were coming over for a small reunion dinner, and she wanted everything to be perfect. At first, things seemed fine, but as the day went on, problems started piling up. The oven suddenly broke down. The playlist she had prepared completely fell apart when her speaker refused to connect. And then, to make things worse, her phone kept buzzing with messages from friends who might not turn up at all. Emma took a deep breath. Okay, she whispered. I'll work this out. I just have to stay calm. She quickly called back the repair service, but the line was busy. Instead of panicking, she decided to look into other options. Maybe she could order some food instead of cooking everything herself. It's not the end of the world, she told herself. As she tidied up, Emma came across an old photo album hidden on the bookshelf. She opened it and smiled at the pictures, her friends laughing together, hanging out after class, even struggling to set up tents during a camping trip years ago. The memories made her heart feel lighter. By evening, the doorbell rang. One by one, her friends began to show up. First was Sarah, who admitted she had almost given in to staying home because of the rain, but she didn't want to miss the chance to reconnect. Then came David, carrying snacks to make up for arriving late. Sorry, he said, traffic was crazy. But hey, at least I turned up. Soon, the living room was filled with laughter and voices. Emma couldn't stop smiling as she watched her friends carry on conversations like no time had passed. But the biggest surprise of the night came when Michael arrived. Nobody had seen him in years. He had moved abroad for work, and everyone assumed he wouldn't be able to join. When he walked through the door, the room went silent for a second. Then everyone cheered. Michael, Emma said, rushing to hug him. I can't believe you showed up. You didn't even say anything. I wanted it to be a surprise, he grinned. Besides, I had to come back and bring back all those good memories we shared. As the evening went on, the group shared stories of their struggles and victories. One friend talked about how hard it was to get over a difficult breakup. Another admitted she had to cut down on work hours to spend more time with family. Someone else shared how they were trying to set up a small charity project. Through it all, they encouraged one another, laughed until their sides hurt, and even made plans to hang out more often. Emma sat quietly for a moment, looking at her friends. She thought about how easily things could have fallen apart today, but instead, everything worked out better than she expected. She realized something important. Life will always have broken ovens, missed calls, or unexpected changes. But when people show up, when they carry on, when they put up with small problems and focus on the bigger picture, that's when the best memories are made. Practice with key sentences. Repeat after me. Even when things fall apart, they can still work out. Sometimes you just have to give in and order food. Old memories come back when you come across a photo. Friends who turn up unexpectedly are the best kind. We should set up more reunions like this. It's easier to get over challenges when you're not alone. This story shows how phrasal verbs don't just belong in grammar books. They belong in life, at dinners, in friendships, in surprises. When you imagine yourself inside these situations, the phrases stick naturally. As the reunion wound down, the room was filled with the quiet hum of contentment. Empty glasses sat on the table, laughter still echoed in the corners, and soft music played in the background. Emma leaned back in her chair, watching her friends pack up their things, promising to call back soon and not let so much time pass before meeting again. Moments like these, Emma thought, are a perfect reminder of what really matters. Life is never going to be smooth all the time. Things will break down, plans will fall apart, and sometimes you'll feel like giving in when things get too hard. But each of those moments carries a lesson. They teach us resilience. They show us how to adapt, how to carry on even when nothing goes according to plan. Think about it. How many times have you faced a challenge in your life and in the moment it felt overwhelming, but later you realized it actually helped you grow? Maybe you came across an opportunity you never expected. Maybe someone showed up in your life who changed everything. Maybe you discovered that you were stronger than you thought. This is exactly how language learning works. You'll forget words. You'll stumble in conversations. Sometimes your confidence will fall apart. But if you keep showing up, if you keep working things out little by little, everything will change. You'll get over the frustration, and you'll build habits that carry you forward. Now, let's slow down and reflect with some sentences. Repeat them after me, and let the meaning sink in as you say them. I can carry on, even when things are difficult. When plans fall apart, I can work things out in another way. I don't have to give in to fear. I can face it. Opportunities often come across my path when I least expect them. I can set up small steps toward my big goals. When I get over challenges, I become stronger. Say them again, but this time, imagine moments from your own life when each sentence was true. This is not just vocabulary practice. It's a way to connect English to your personal experience. And when language is tied to your story, you don't forget it. Emma stood at the door as her friends waved goodbye. She felt grateful, not just for the reunion, but for the lessons hidden in the day. Things hadn't gone as planned, but the evening turned out even better than she imagined. That's how life often works out. You set up one plan, it breaks down, but something unexpected and beautiful takes its place. And that's the same with English. You might plan to say a perfect sentence but stumble. Don't give in to embarrassment. Carry on. Try again, because every attempt brings you closer to fluency. So tonight, as you finish listening, remember this. Language learning is not just about grammar or vocabulary lists. It's about showing up every day, putting up with small frustrations, working things out, and letting the journey bring back moments of joy and discovery. If you keep doing that, one day you'll look back, just like Emma did with her old photo album, and you'll smile because you'll realize you've already become the confident speaker you always wanted to be.